All right, good morning, students. We're very excited today to have with us for today's rendition of NCS Talks, former NCS student, and, of course, Mr. McKenzie's son, Mark McKenzie Jr. is going to join us today. You can try switching if you want to the screen. So, real quick, let me do a quick introduction, and then I'm going to simply turn it over to Mark to lead his NCS talk. Guys, let's be quiet. I need you guys quiet. Thank you. Okay. Mark was a former Newark Charter School student from grades 4 to 12. He went on to the YSC Academy to graduate in the class of 2017. After graduating, he attended Wake Forest University to play soccer in 2017. And then he went on to the Philadelphia Union to play for the Union from 2018 to 21. Went to play over in Europe at Genk Club from 2021 to 2024. And is currently with the Toulouse Football Club in France from 2024 to present. He's also a member of the United States Senior Men's National Soccer Team. And just to highlight that Mr. McKenzie Sr. walks the walk and talks the talk, or talks the talk and walks the walk. Mark McKenzie Jr. is also finishing his college, even though he's a highly successful soccer player at Southern New Hampshire University, where he's got one more class to go to graduate. So let's give a round of applause for Mark McKenzie Jr. Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you. One sec, there'll be a time for student questions. When there's questions, we're going to have students form a line up here, and then you'll come up to the step and speak into the microphone and ask your question when it's time. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you for the eloquent introduction. Thank you guys for joining me and taking the time today. First of all, can you guys hear me? It's all good? Yeah. All right, cool. Just need to make sure that I have plenty of talks where I can't hear anybody. So, again, I just want to thank you guys for coming out and taking some time to join me today. It's a pleasure to see you guys. I remember when I was at one time in your shoes, but just wanted to share a bit of my journey, some of the lessons that I've learned along the way, and hopefully some of this can kind of help you guys as you journey on yours. As you guys know, I'm Mr. McKenzie's son. I always like to put that out there. I also like to put out there where I got my athletic abilities from, and also my extroverted nature. Many of you may not believe it, but it's kind of true. But anyway, I'll jump right into it because we already got into the introduction. But as you guys know, a lot of my academic career I spent in Delaware. In my athletic career as well, I started playing at the YMCA. My dad was actually one of my first coaches. From there, I went on and began playing for the Philadelphia Union's Academy by the time I was about 9 years old, 10 years old. Made my way through the Academy ranks, attended Wake Forest University in the fall of 2017, joined Philadelphia Union. In 2018, January 2018, signed first team there. Now I played in Genk in Belgium from 2021 to 24. Now in Toulouse. I played in under youth national team ranks of the U.S. men's national team, and now represent the national team at the senior level. But I go on not to say all of this in a way to flaunt or to brag, but to express that I've had plenty of highs and lows throughout my entire life and my career, and that's why I titled this, or told my dad to title it. I hope he got it correct, but timing is everything, but preparation is key. So before I kind of go in, are you guys athletes? Do we have any athletes, who play sports? Just raise your hand. If you guys. Okay. All right. So we got a good bit of athletes in there, but this doesn't just apply to athletes by any means. It's also student athletes in your academic career. Any endeavors you guys have outside of sports and school, this will apply just the same. But I want to let you guys know you're going to all go through highs and lows. They're going to look different for each of you. You're going to have trials and tribulations. They're going to be different than the people sitting next to you or sitting in front or behind you. But nonetheless, the valleys for me are where you're truly able to learn the most about yourself. Yes, the peaks, the highs, those moments when you're on cloud nine and you feel like nothing can stop you, those are fantastic. And you should enjoy them, and you should definitely remember that. But nonetheless, I feel like the valleys, those low moments are where you're able to truly figure out who you are, where you're able to figure out what your character is, where you're able to figure out your strengths, your weaknesses, where you're able to figure out what your aspirations are, your dreams are. For me specifically, it taught me a lot about ultimately how much I was willing to sacrifice in order to achieve my definition of greatness. So I would highly encourage you guys to dive deep into that and to not neglect those little moments, but to dig deep and figure out what it is exactly that you want while you're in those times. The second part of it, the preparation is key. I feel like it's probably even more important than just being in that valley, because the preparation you do while in that valley is critical, not just because you want the opportunity and you know that it's going to come back around, but ultimately when you do get the opportunity, if you haven't done the legwork, if you haven't done the real strapping up of your boots and rolling up of your sleeves, the real understanding and stepping back of, okay, why am I in this situation, and what do I need in order to prepare myself for this journey, to go back up this mountain, to go back up to reach the next peak. That's going to be ultimately what dictates how far and how high you're able to go. And then once you get to that top, whether or not you're able to stay there and sustain that level. For me, I'll just go down, and I don't want to, again, take up too much time, because I want to open the floor to you guys and have you guys ask me questions and share thoughts. But I want to pick a few experiences from my life that I feel like truly apply to this talk that we're having today. The first of them being COVID year. I know many of us remember, all of us remember COVID and how difficult it was, how difficult of a time it was, where we were now separated from each other for a long period of time. And during that time, the MLS season had just been put on pause. We had time back at home, and it was in those hours. You didn't know truly when we would get back on the pitch. So what did I do? As always, figure out where I could get, the ball onto some grass, onto some artificial turf, and kind of get some touches in to keep myself in shape. And during that period, I had the opportunity to possibly go and play in Europe. As many of you know, in the U.S., as an American player, the dream is to play at the highest levels of soccer in Europe, to play in Champions League, and to play in the Champions League finals, and to play in the Europa League, and the Conference League, to play in the Premier League, and to play in La Liga. For those of you who play soccer, you guys know about the best players in the world, the Dembele, the Mohamed Salah, the Darwin Nunez, all these top players who are playing at the highest levels in Europe, and that's been my dream since I was a child. And I had this opportunity in front of me, and just as I'm about to approach that and possibly get the opportunity to jump abroad and play in Europe, this sporting director calls and shuts down this opportunity. At first, I genuinely didn't know how to take it. I was 21, 20? I was 20 years old, and I was hungry for this opportunity. I dreamt of it. I put in countless hours of training and preparation in order to get myself in the position to be able to make the jump, and to have now someone come in and completely, close us off. It felt like the entire world had kind of shut off, but even though it really wasn't in the grand scheme of things. But I had two decisions to make. I had one where I could sit back and kind of pity myself, where I could go hissy fit and why this, why that, why me, why couldn't be blah, 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 and put in a long list of questions I could ask myself. Or the opportunity or the decision to make you know what? Gotta go harder. I gotta work even harder. I gotta figure out ways to improve. I gotta figure out what I need to do in order to make sure the next time this opportunity comes around, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. So, yeah, for the next 5 months, from June all the way until December, we had this period of just games back to back to back to back. And I honestly probably had the best stretch of my career in that time during that 5 months, because I solely dedicated myself, my time to figuring out what areas of my game I needed to improve, understanding what it was to break down opponents in the film room, what it was to step into a game and my preparation and my routines, what it was to handle the moments where I would feel like all is set against me, the moments where I had anxiety at a high level, the moments where I felt like the coach didn't want to put me in the game. It was in those months that I had that opportunity, and 6 months later, I turned around and after countless hours of that work, countless hours of being in a position where I didn't want to be, I prepared myself to be ready for when that call would come. In December of 2020, I got the call to make the move to KRC Genk in Belgium. And before I even got to that move, I ended up helping the Philadelphia Union win the first trophy in club history, so that was a really special moment. But I can attribute a lot of that just to the hard work that went in to being in those low moments, to being in that valley of hearing that no, and having a dream potentially shut off to now opening even new possibilities. And then I'll flash forward a month later, I arrived in Belgium, and this is not my first time being away from home. My first time being away from my family, in a brand new culture, in a brand new country, with a new language, a new way of life. And COVID was still in existence as well, so you're going to the grocery store, and it's not like in the US where I can jump up and go to Walmart, or I can go to Wawa if I want to get a hoagie, if I want to go, I don't know, to the mall, to get some food from the food court, anything like that. Things are shut off. People can't necessarily understand you in the same way that we're talking now. And I'm 6 hours away from family in terms of the time difference. I'm a 7.5, 8 hour flight away from family in addition to an hour or 2 hour car ride. The accessibility just isn't there, and it's quite literally me, myself, and I in those days, especially when I first got there. But when I look, it was at probably first 12 to 18 months of being in Belgium that I struggled a lot. I wasn't playing, I was in a new team. My teammates were still trying to figure out whether or not I could mesh into the group. I didn't know how to adapt to things because it was my first time. Have any of you guys ever traveled out of the country or been away for an extended period of time? Yeah, so I'm sure you guys know it's challenging. So that's the back. It was probably one of the lowest periods of my life because the very things that I consider close to home, the very things that I consider to be home, were not taken away, but pushed to the side and forced me to dig in even deeper and sacrifice the comfort of being home, to sacrifice the comfort of being with what I knew most for the entirety of my life to now adjust to a new way of life. So this valley was, again, for about a year and a half. I'm not playing, I'm away from family and friends, and it wasn't until 2022 in June of 2022 that I finally got an opportunity to step into this team and to play consistently, to play regularly. But it was a matter of training. It was a matter of watching the guys ahead of me. It was the matter of sitting down with the coach and understanding what area of my game that I needed to improve even more so. It was understanding that, and this is probably a big thing on me, I was probably my hardest critic. And it became detrimental at times. And if I hadn't gone through this period of not being in the team and this period of not being able to be in the comfort of home, I wouldn't have probably recognized it. I would have probably been able to now overcome that idea that, yes, mistakes can happen, of course, 100%, but the best athletes are the ones who are able to get over those mistakes and move on to the next play, because the next play is the most important play, as many of you know. And that was the hard lesson learned in that time, but it was a necessary lesson. It's something that I remember to this day. And now, having moved on from Belgium, I've played nearly 150 games in Belgium and played against some of the best players in the world in European competitions. And I think that experience of being at a low during that time, in that 12 to 18 months, prepared me for making the move to where I am now in France. And my last experience before I open it up to you guys would probably be the World Cup. As many of you know, everybody knows about the World Cup. the World Cup is coming to the U.S. and Mexico and Canada in 2026. It's the pinnacle of soccer. It is the pinnacle of a world event when it comes to the game that I love so much. And I've been part of the local qualification to the senior national team for about a year and a half. And that experience of traveling around different countries and playing in different environments, playing against opponents who were also representing their country and playing with such pride for not only themselves but their families and their loved ones back home. You know, it was such a special experience, and to be part of that and to know that the World Cup that was coming in November of 2022, it was something that I was preparing for. I put so much work into. I made sure that each training session, each game in that 12 to 18 months that I wasn't playing, I would be sure that there would be no doubts about it. And even in that position of having felt like I had done all that I could, I'm sitting on November 3rd of 2022 waiting for a call from the Red Altar all day, and finally get a call from them at 10 p.m. at night, and get the call that I'm not going to be part of the World Cup squad. And that was devastating. It was probably the lowest point of my career, not because I've been playing poorly, but because, again, this dream, this idea, this concept that I had been working so hard for was now snatched away. It hit hard. It took me probably a few days to kind of overcome that. But during that period with the national team, I said to myself, I remember I sat on the phone with my now wife and my parents, and I said that by the time we get to 2026, there's not going to be any doubts as to why I will not be on that 26-man roster for that World Cup. And the work that I put in from the time of that call all the way until this point now, where I finally become a regular for the senior team, had been solely devoted to understanding what it was to play at the highest levels of international soccer. Each and every opportunity I got to be at camp, or each and every opportunity I got to play at my club team, each opportunity within training sessions, I had solely dedicated to making sure that each part of my game was fine-tuned. So I would ultimately be able to represent my country and my family once the opportunity came back around. So again, these are just a few of my experiences of being in low points, but the importance of understanding that in those lowest points, you are able to truly figure out what you want most, how much you're willing to sacrifice, and ultimately what kind of character you have. So that way, by the time you prepare yourself for that next journey up that mountain, you're prepared and you have all the tools needed to be successful. So again, as a teenager, sometimes I know I've been in your shoes. You can look at your current circumstances, they can feel overwhelming, but I truly can assure you guys, and I want you to understand that delay isn't denial, as my dad always says. He might have told you guys that before, but it's one of my favorite sayings that he has: delay is not denial. And that sometimes no's are the biggest blessings we can receive, because you can truly step into what's meant for you and take hold of it with confidence once you know what it truly takes to be there. And this last tidbit I'll leave before I open it up is a quote. It's from a masterclass session. I'd encourage you guys, masterclass is a program where you're able to listen or to watch videos from some of the best athletes, entrepreneurs, chefs, essentially whatever industry or path that you're interested in. They offer lessons, and you're able to sit and listen to these professionals, these elite individuals explain what it takes to kind of be at the highest levels of whatever it is that you want to do. And one that sticks out to me is a quote from Gino Auriemma. He's the UConn women's basketball head coach. And he said, "You don't just rise to the occasion randomly, but you're going to fall to the level of your preparation." So, like farmers, continue to water the seeds that you guys lay, even during dry seasons. And in doing so, you'll prepare yourself for the harvest that will ultimately overflow in a due time. So that's my whole spiel for the day before I open it up. But again, I just want to thank you guys for kind of coming out and listening to me a little bit about my experiences, and ultimately some of these lessons that I've learned will stick with you guys as you go along your way. I wish you guys nothing but the best. I'm looking at the next generation of our doctors, lawyers, engineers, scientists, our next teachers, our next entrepreneur, whatever it is that you want, you know, and I'm very encouraged by it. So continue to do what you guys are doing, continue to operate with love, continue to operate with empathy, listen to each other, and I'm sure you guys will all be successful. So thank you guys, and yeah, that's it.
All right, at this time we're going to open it up for questions. If you have a question for Mark, I need you to come out down this aisle, and we're just going to form a single file line right to me. If you'd like to ask a question, you got to come up out of your seat and come on down to the microphone. We'll just form a line right here. Be quiet for the questions, please.
What's going on?
Who's the toughest opponent you've ever faced?
Toughest opponent I've ever faced? I would probably say Zlatan Ibrahimovic. And I would also say Declan Rice.
And then my other question is, would you be down to train with me over the summer?
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. I'll see if my next line is scheduled. But once I'm backstage, I'll give you a shot, alright?
Thank you.
So my question is, I have two questions. First, how does it feel, playing under your manager, one that's so widely known around the soccer community, like Montreal?
Yeah, it's an honor one. Again, when you're able to play for a manager who has such a big rapport, who has such a big reputation within the game. Somebody who demands the most from you because he's also a player. He also understood what it takes to play at the highest level. Having played out of the Argentine national team and played in Europe, in the Champions League and in the biggest competition. So I think in that sense it's an honor, right? Because he sees an ability in you, a potential in you. But it's also a level of pressure as well because it requires you to be on top of your game for essentially every minute of each session. So that way, he knows who's ready for your opportunity when they get it.
My second question is, how did you and the team adjust after that Panama Canada loss at the Nations League?
Yeah, it's a tough one because right after the games you don't have much time to spend together because you have to get back to your club team. But I think everybody knew stepping off the field that we needed to do more, that we needed to make adjustments faster with each game. We also just needed to be more clinical in everything we did in all phases of the game. So I think overall it was disappointing for sure, but like I said in my talk, I think in this period now where it seems like a valley, we have a lot of preparation to do because we have an important next year that comes. We're going to start this summer. We have the 2 friendly games against Turkey and Switzerland, the top teams, and then we have the Gold Cup. And then we have a big run up until the World Cup next year. So we're going to need to make sure we have everything we need and everybody understands what it's going to take to be successful moving forward as a national team.
Thank you and good luck, Mark.
Thank you.
Hello. Would you say it was more discipline or motivation that kept you going after learning that you didn't make the World Cup?
I'd say a bit of both. Only because I had a motivation to make sure that I was on this next roster, that I was willing to be on the next roster for the World Cup. But the discipline is essentially the routine that's going to get you through and the habits that are going to push you to make sure that you stay on track, right? If you don't have a lack of discipline will ultimately lead you astray. Lack of discipline. If I'm saying, all right, I need 5 days a week of training on the pitch of endurance. If I'm only working 2 days a week, I'm never going to reach my full capability. And that discipline is even on the mornings where I don't want to do the extra runs, or even after training when I don't want to do the extra fitness conditioning that the strength and conditioning coach is telling me. Yeah, you're going to fall short of that goal. So I think motivation initially, but discipline is that long-term consistency that will make sure that your goal stays on track.
Thank you. Good luck. What was the happiest moment of your career?
Happiest moment, I think on my signing day, when I became professional in Philadelphia in 2018, I thought that one of the happiest days of my life because it was the first step in the whole career. I'd say the next one was let's say lifting the trophy for the national team. I think lifting a trophy is difficult as it is, but when you can do it with the national team, it makes it even more special. So I think that was one of them for sure. And then I think walking out in the European competition, I think was the relay competition was also a special moment. So I think those are the 3 days stick out for me specifically.
So I guess the things to mess around.
I'm personally a Ronaldo fan, but I respect Messi and respect him as a special player.
Thank you.
So, is it difficult for you to acclimate to different languages spoken in different countries? So, going from like Belgium and France these past few years, like how difficult has it been for you?
No, initially it's definitely challenging because you want to communicate with people, and many times language is the best way to be able to connect with somebody, right? Well, body language is important. I think language is very important. So the biggest thing that I said once I got to each country was to take lessons to be able to learn the language to some capacity. I feel like when you make the effort, people are more willing to have grace when it comes to the mistakes that you may make while speaking. So yeah, language is definitely a challenge, but I encourage you guys, if you do have the opportunity to make sure you listen to your other language instructors, because it's a useful tool to have, especially if you want to travel the world.
You mentioned that hunger and desire in your speech. Can you talk about what mental mindset you need to make that jump like you did from Ghent to Toulouse? Like, what do you need to know mentally, or like stuff like that?
Mentally, you need to understand it's going to require more of you because you're taking a step that's a higher level. It's going to require you to understand you're not a perfect player. Just because you make this move doesn't mean that it's going to go all smooth for you in your next club. And the last thing is just understanding that it's a journey. Because just because you make the jump doesn't mean that you're prepared to necessarily dominate from day one. It's going to require you, it's going to have growing pains. But nonetheless, I think the learning mentality, the constant understanding of every day is a chance to get better. And it's cliche, and it sounds boring, and it sounds like everybody says it, but it's a true statement. If you can improve 1% each and every day over the course of the season, you'll see how much farther you can go, or over the course of a year, just how far you can go. So I think the mentality to constantly be open to learning, be open to criticism, and to never let that stop you. Thank you.
All right, Mark, we got time for one more question before we dismiss here from activity. What we are going to do, though, if you have a question, you want to stick around, I know your dad sent you another link. If you log off after you answer this question and you want to log back on, if anyone wants to stick around and ask a follow-up question, we can do that. So last question, and then we'll dismiss.
Do you ever feel performance anxiety and how do you deal with that?
Oh, major performance anxiety, especially when I was younger. Got myself on the field, I never wanted to make mistakes. I always wanted to be perfect, and unfortunately, that is not the truth. When you do play, whatever sport it is, mistakes are going to naturally happen. And as I said before, understanding that the next play is the most important play is the biggest step that I've made in my career, and in my game overall. Understanding that if I'm still thinking about the mistake that I made 3 passes ago, that the next pass I made is going to be still lingering on those 3 passes prior to. So, for me, performance anxiety is the best way I've been able to cope with it is understanding that mistakes are natural. You want to minimize them, of course, but to just do the simple things very well. If you do the simple things very well, from there, you build the confidence to continue to try and be creative, but simplify things. Keep it very simple, one step at a time, and then from there, you'll be able to kind of grow into something that's difficult to stop.
Thank you.
All right, let's give Mark McKenzie a really big round of applause. Mark, thanks for joining. The few log out, and then Mark, I can never win because we see a few students left here. Everybody else, we are dismissed to lunch or our next period class. Thank you. If anyone wants to stay around and ask another question, not in front of the entire crowd, please stick around over by the podium. Thank you. If you want to stick around, you can stick around. We'll get you a pass if you need a pass. If you had a quick question for Mark. Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Hey, Mark. How are you? It is so good to see you. I have a quick question. My question is, when are you going to send me tickets to come see you at a game?
Whenever you're ready, let me know when you have time here to make it happen.
Okay, you're that promise, man. I'm holding you. I'm holding you on that.
Listen, you know where to find me. I'm either at home sleeping or I'm on the soccer field. So.
Oh, that's very sweet. All right, thank you so much for doing this for us. I have a class, I gotta go, but thank you.
No, it's great seeing you. Thanks for helping set this up.
All right.
Hi, Mark. I want to know, do you prepare mentally, if it's differently, depending on what game you like or what team you face?
I try not to look at it as each individual game per se, or each individual opponent we play. I try to look at it as simply a game against different opponents, right? Each opponent's going to bring something different to the table, but not seeing it because we're playing in a final that is different than a league competition game. Sometimes, for me, I found that I place more pressure on myself when I start to categorize certain games above other games. Yes, naturally, of course, a World Cup final or any game of importance, has a certain weight to it, but the best way for me is just to simplify and understand that it's 11v11, it's a referee, it's 2 linesmen, it's, everybody trying to win the game. So when you look at it in that sense, it makes it much less pressurized, much more tangible.
All right, thank you. Good luck tomorrow for your game.
Thank you.
All right, I got 2 questions for you.
What was that? Sorry.
What advices would you normally give for a teenager who dreams of making a professional like you?
Oh man. I would say the biggest thing is persistence. I think persistence is probably one of the biggest things that you need to prepare yourself, to equip yourself with. because there's going to be probably a lot of no's that come into play. But if you do have a dream and you have a goal in mind, that's to be a professional player. There's many ways to go around it, to get to becoming a professional. I can tell you now firsthand that I probably consider myself a late bloomer in a sense. I had guys on my team when we were in the academy and signed professionally from the time they were 17 years old, and I wasn't at that level yet. I still had areas I needed to improve. I hadn't gotten an opportunity yet, or whatever it was, but nonetheless, I had a goal in mind, that was to become professional, and I wanted to make sure that I got the absolute most out of myself, and prepare myself for that properly. Because it was a journey. I had a no prior to joining the Philadelphia Eagles Academy. I had no's in terms of playing time during my time in the academy. I had no's in terms of becoming a starter with the under 16s. I had no's in terms of being prepared to play with the USL team. I had no's as to whether I was ready to take a step or whether I was able to be consistent. But through all of those no's, I found that it prepared me, and ultimately I had the persistence because I had that goal in mind. I had the persistence to continue going no matter what the no was. I know that when the opportunity of itself, I was going to take it. So, yeah, be persistent, man. Be persistent. Constantly look at that. Remind yourself of that goal, and remind yourself that there are many ways to get to that goal. There's no specific way, there's no traditional way, and never lose that belief in yourself.
All right, thank you.